Welcome to Momentous. I am Pastor Rebecca Great, the pastor mission developer for Momentous and the host for our weekly podcast. At Momentous, we believe that God is present with us in each and every single one of our moments. We believe that our stories are connected to God's story and to one another's stories. We believe that this connection and relationship changes our lives and our entire world. Now, before we begin, I invite you to take a deep breath in, to hold it while you count to 3, and then slowly release that breath. And for this summer, we are spending our entire time at Sabbath Stops, at times designed for sacred rest, to reconnect with God and with those around us and with creation. Summer is a season where almost all of our schedules completely shift from what they are during the school year. So we are going to intentionally stop just like we would at a rest stop on the road. So grab a snack, grab some water to drink, stretch, and take another deep breath. Now, over the past week, I have seen multiple social media posts from my friends who are involved with schools as teachers or administrators or as support staff. And they are starting their countdowns to August 1st, when it seems like most of them will be allowed back into their classrooms to start preparing them for the upcoming school year. Now, I've seen advertisements for local organizations holding back to school supply drives to help make sure that students are ready for the upcoming year and that their classrooms have the supplies they need in all the community bins so everyone has the best chance to participate and succeed. And when I was serving as a congregational pastor, this was also the week that I would distribute the entire academic year calendar so that households and families would know when activities would be happening with our congregation. And maybe if that calendar could be in the first round of papers to arrive home, it would help them prioritize how to juggle their schedules. Now, I have mentioned before how one of the most reliable ways I process large amounts of stress seems counterintuitive. I don't get more productive at first. I take a nap. Maybe I will make a list first to brain dump all of the things rumbling around in my head, but I will almost always approach big, stressful things with a nap. And when I do this, I invariably think of one particular story from the Bible that is found in the book of 1 Kings in chapters 18 and 19. Now, a few years ago, there was a tweet, or whatever we are calling them now after the rebrand, but there was a tweet floating around about this particular passage from 1 Kings, and I have a copy of it printed out and tucked into my planner because I am still a paper planner kind of person. And it reads, "This is your gentle reminder that one time in the Bible, Elijah was like, God, I am so mad. I want to die. So God said, here's some food. Why don't you have a nap? So Elijah slept, ate, and decided things weren't so bad. Never underestimate the spiritual power of a nap and a snack. So Elijah was a prophet who was called by God to warn the king that there would be a drought if they did not stop worshiping a false god. Eventually, there is this entire showdown between Elijah and all of the prophets of this other god. And Elijah's God, the God of the Israelites, our God, shows up and overpowers all of the other religious leaders. The crowds that were watching convert to worshiping God, and Elijah kills all of the other prophets. There is a lot of bloodshed in the Bible. There's no getting around that. So this enrages the king and the queen because they had worked so hard to squelch out everyone who worshiped the God of the Israelites. Elijah feared for his life, and he flees. So then eventually Elijah finds himself under the shade of this type of tree called a broom tree, and he is out deep in the wilderness. And he is pleading with God to just end it rather than having to deal with another hard day. And that might sound dramatic until we remember what Elijah has just done and experienced, because there's a lot weighing on him. He likely wasn't sleeping well because he was plagued by dreams and intrusive memories of what he had just experienced and what he had just ordered and what he had just done. So he's in the wilderness without guaranteed access to food or water. So after running, he collapses and realizes he cannot possibly keep going. His situation and the limitations of his body have won. It is better for God to grant him death rather than to be killed at the hands of the queen. But instead, an angel wakes him up and orders him to eat, because there are cakes that have been prepared on hot stones just waiting for him. And here, there is some safe water to drink. So Elijah obeys and eats and drinks, and then he falls back asleep. So the angel returns again, waking him up again and ordering him to eat because of the journey that lays ahead of him. And it's with the strength of that snack or that food and that nap, that rest, that Elijah continued on for another 40 days in the wilderness to a mountain named Horeb, where God speaks to him and asks him what in the world he's still doing in the wilderness. So Elijah is told then to go to the top of that mountain and to wait because God is going to pass by. And after Elijah gets up there, there is this sound of a great wind that rushes in. And it was such a intense wind that it's destroying portions of the wilderness. And God was not that great wind. And then there was an earthquake. And God was not that earthquake. And then there was a fire. And God was not that fire. But then after that great wind, and then after that earthquake, and then after that fire, there is this sound of absolute silence that caused Elijah to emerge from the cave where he had found some safety. And he hears someone, it's God, but he hears the same question again. What are you doing out here, Elijah? So Elijah recounts everything that he had experienced before he fled to save his life. It's a confession. And God tells him to go back. Go back to that same place to continue prophesying and to anoint a new king and to anoint a new prophet to learn from you and who will take your place when you die. So if that bread that was baked on rocks by an angel, and that little bit of rest in the midst of the wilderness are enough to sustain Elijah for that whole 40-day and 40-night journey up to that mountain and then his return back, how much more might a few moments of sacred rest and a snack restore and sustain and equip us for taking the next steps in noticing God's presence with us? Now, there is a phrase in the Lutheran world that we don't usually hear very often in other areas of our life, and that phrase is daily bread. And it can quite literally mean bread that you receive every day, but it also refers to everything that has to do with the support and needs of the human body. So it includes everything that we need in order to live well with one another. Food and water and clothing and shelter and a support system and meaningful vocation and faithful leaders and good weather and health and peace. Now, even though our society does a superb job at marketing that what we have is never enough and that we are never enough, we each have some semblance of daily bread. We may want more of something, and we may truly need more of something, but there is daily bread present right in front of us. So I want you to take a few seconds and think of 3 things right now that you know to your core are daily bread. How can those things help you answer God's call to be God's presence in the midst of this very busy and stressful time of year? How can those things, those same 3 things, help refill the parts of your heart that are depleted? Now, also a few years ago, an author named Anne Lamott wrote a book that is titled Help, Thanks, Wow, The 3 Essential Prayers. Now, this is a really short book filled with scenes from her life where she excelled in praying and other times where she struggled with praying, to the point that she was so depleted that she could not string words, multiple of them, could not string them together to form a coherent prayer. So in thinking through how you may identify with Elijah, I'm going to commend these breath prayers to you to add to your breathing throughout the week, especially when your breath quickens as you get stressed. So throughout this week, whenever you remember, here are your instructions. Find a way to create stillness safely wherever you are. Turn off the radio in the car and close your eyes if you are able, or go to a different room from whatever noise is swirling around. And then take a slow, deep breath in for 3 or 4 heartbeats. And as you do that, simply pray the word help. Then hold that same breath in, if you are able, for 3 or 4 heartbeats and pray the word thanks. And then exhale that breath slowly over the course of 3 or 4 heartbeats and pray, wow. And if you can only pray help, that is okay. Continue breathing and praying that prayer until the day comes that you can add thanks to it. And keep doing that until the day comes where you can add wow to it. And keep doing that until you can add other words in the midst of the prayer too. Thank you for joining us for our weekly Moment to Us. We are looking forward to growing with each of you and are so grateful that you are a part of the Momentous community. We do want to say thank you to our mission partners, the Southern Ohio Synod and the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. Their financial contributions and prayer have been instrumental in bringing this new ministry into existence. If you want to support the ministry of Momentous, engaging with us online is one way you can do that. If you're able to give financially, you can visit our website and use the donate link there. Each one-time or recurring gift combines together to ensure that the Momentous community continues to grow. However you are engaging with or discerning partnering with Momentous, we hope that it means you are growing in your faith and noticing God's presence with you. We give thanks for every single one of you, for being a part of the Momentous community and for listening to God's call to try something new. Until our next podcast, remember to breathe deeply and that God is present with you every single moment.